Welcome to the Art of Gracious Living. Today we're doing an unboxing of a pair of boots that I ordered on eBay. These were pretty beat up, and I ordered them in an attempt to have a project pair. First view of these, interestingly, they have a Red Wings sole on them, but they are not Red Wings. These are instead Field and Stream, made by Mason Boot Company of Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. And these boots are from the 1960s. So these are really a vintage pair, big time. Not crazy about these laces. They're pretty dirty. There's the tag. That is the 1960s tag from Mason. I'll show you a couple other tags from the 70s and the 80s and 90s. But the reason I really liked these boots and wanted to buy them was because they have this beautiful ebonized patina. And that's a patina that is caused by many, many years of oxidation of veg tan leather. This is a patina you only see in veg tan leather. And it's really quite beautiful. Although these need a little bit of TLC to bring out the maximum beauty of this wonderful, wonderful patina. There's the Field and Stream logo. Field and Stream boots, as well as their clothing lines, were completely unrelated to the magazine. They were a trade name, a trademark that was owned by Gordon and Ferguson, which was a company that been around for a long time. And they are really about equal in quality to Red Wings of the same vintage. They have a cushy insole. They had a cushy insole. These are completely trashed, dried out, and rock hard. The insole was made, in fact, they advertised their cushy insoles. In fact, the earliest versions of their cushy insoles were made with cellulose. This was before the foam and plastic and rubber. But these were considered a very comfortable boot because of the squishy insoles, and these insoles are trash, so they're going to be replaced one way or the other. Most likely, immediately, I'm going to replace them with a couple insoles that I've got in mind for them, some thick veg tan. But this patina is really something else. It's glossy. It's not like a dirty black. It's a glossy ebony black. It almost looks like T-core leather that has had some greenish gray highlights come out. You'll see that a lot better after we wash and condition these boots. These boots, I will say, first of all, were definitely resold because of the Red Wings sole. They originally came with sort of a similar rubber cord or crepe type rubber sole. They obviously wore out, and the guy had them resold because they were a beloved pair of boots. And this uppers leather has really been very, very well cared for. It's not dry. It's a little bit dry. Obviously, it needs conditioning, but it's not like dry and cracked the way you see a lot of leather in boots that are over 50 years old. These boots are, pushing 60 years old. And really, the leather is in pretty excellent condition. So, Goodyear welted. Again, these were a good quality boot, but certainly not a heritage quality boot, as we would say today. They've got a rubber welt. They've got probably what looks like a plastic midsole, although they do have a leather insole. And we'll take a look at the inside of them here in a second. They're unlined, which is actually a blessing, in my opinion, for this era of boot. Rough out, obviously, showing on the inside in the unlined interior. It's got eyelets, and then these, they're not speed hooks, they're D-rings. And they laces up, so you have to lace it up all the way, but actually, I suspect that you can pull them out and get them on and off with laces almost to the top. The very top one doesn't have a D-ring. It's got that lace hole that is almost never going to be fooled with. Beautiful, beautiful boots, and I'm looking forward to conditioning them as well as having them restored to the maximum extent possible. And we'll see where we go from here. Let's first start with the conditioning. So what we're going to do is we are going to, now that we've got the insoles out, I've got a plan for the insoles. But right now what I want to do is clean these up with some saddle soap. As you can see, I like Otter Wax. I like Otter Wax products simply because they are very, very upfront about what their ingredients are. They're one of the most transparent brands when it comes to telling you what the ingredients are in their products. And for me, that's very important. Proprietary formula, no. Saddle soap is saddle soap. Just tell us what's in it. So what I want to do is I'm going to open up the saddle soap, and I'm going to put a little bit of warm water in the cap. And then we are going to carefully give these a good scrub.
You said you wanna love me, baby, but now you change your mind. You said you gonna be true, babe, until the end of time. Then you started messing around with me, baby, trying to lure your full love, and that is no good. Since you've been better about me, baby, I don't think I'm gonna move into your neighborhood.
Saddle soap has definitely gone a long way in evening up the color, but a lot of that darkening is just from the moisture that was involved. I was a little aggressive with the water. I used a little bit of a soapier, watery mix because I really want to hydrate this leather. And a little bit of moisture, a little bit of water is perfectly good for boots of this age. So I was a little aggressive with it, and I think it's going to become the base of the hydration of the leather, which is the next step is going to be Venetian leather balm, which is an excellent and gentle moisturizer for boots that I think will do a terrific job without doing any serious violence to the patina. So we'll let these dry. Well, here they are after a couple hours of drying. You can see that they're certainly a lot cleaner. They were really filthy, and this was a classic case of a good heavy saddle soap doing its job. It's shiny. There's no dullness. The leather's got a good sheen, and quite frankly, a good saddle soap like the Cobbler's Choice does a good job of not only washing, but it also contains some beeswax, so it does do some conditioning of the leather as well. It doesn't leave it terribly dry, and it certainly hasn't in this case. So now what we're going to do is the next step. We've prehydrated it by misting quite heavily water into the inside when we removed the insoles. We have cleaned them and we have begun the process of hydrating them with the saddle soap. And now we're going to take the next step with the Venetian leather balm, and we are going to hydrate these babies. I'm very happy with how they're coming out. What I really like is how you can see that original color right there fading into that heavily oxidized and patinaed veg tan leather. And if you really want to see what this leather was like when it was new, take a look at the inside. This is what the leather looked like more or less when it was new. Particularly along this edge right here, you can see that it was really a pretty natural veg tan. I think these were probably quite a light colored boot. They may have had a tiny little bit of aniline dye to give them a bit of a darker shade, but these were a light boot. These were more or less a natural veg tan leather boot. And look at them now. This beautiful shiny black patina that fades into the dark brown at the top of the quarters. Here you can see it nicely. So let's get started.
And a diamond ring, yes, no matter how you treat me, baby, I can hear my lonely heart say, yeah. I've been sitting here thinking, baby, I've been here sitting thinking about that, baby, on my mind. Woman, you need she's been sitting here thinking about that baby. Oh my.
All right, there we are. And boy, is this leather thirsty. It just wanted to absorb and absorb and absorb. But I think it's okay to use a fairly generous amount of this stuff. I may or may not give it a second coat. We'll see. All right, let these dry for a good while, and then we will give them a buff in about, maybe 20 minutes. They've had a good chance to sit and let the conditioner soak into the leather. So let's give them a good brushing.
I don't understand that, even when they scare me out of my shoes. Well, let me tell you, girl, that you ain't never seen nothing yet. I swear that I can never get as long as I live. Long, yeah. Give me a time to ponder and I'll turn it to stone. Give me the power of this world in the palm of your hand. Say you love me, and I know that half the battles is won.
Well, there we go. Cleaned, washed, polished, hydrated, and leather looks great. Has a perfect sheen to it. Just that little bit of wax in that Venetian leather balm did a nice job. Nicely hydrated leather. The tongues are still quite soft. They may need another coat, but I'm going to give them a try right now to see how they fit and how they wear. Now, I've got a couple things that I'm going to add to them. I told you I had a plan for the insoles. They're pretty rough shape. First, I'm going to put these Saphir leather insoles. These are really more of just a sock guard, but I'm going to put them on the bottom. I'm going to put them as the first layer because of this cork, which hopefully will substitute for the missing cork that had just deteriorated and broken up, came up with the adhesive. And these seem to fit quite nicely. This will kind of be our base layer, so to speak, since it's completely lacking any semblance of an insole at this point. Now, second, we're going to put a big thick chunk of veg tan from Rose Anvil, which should give some structure to it. So that first layer was really just to fill any gaps in it. And the second layer is to give it structure. And there we go. We'll put some laces on them and I'll try them out. Hi, everyone. Well, I'm back from my walk and my boots are terrific, absolutely wonderful. I couldn't be happier with them. They fit like a glove. They fit at exactly a 11 and a half, true to size. They have been stretched out considerably, which is to be expected in a 60-year-old pair of boots, um, to a wide width, which fits me gorgeous. They are absolutely as comfortable as they possibly be. They are like slippers. And the black is just awesome. It shows up great. I don't have a black pair of boots, so these fill a perfect niche in my boot collection. And so I'm very, very happy. This patina is really one of a kind, and you just can't buy leather that looks like this new. This only comes with years and years of careful wear. These must have been hunting boots because definitely this guy did not wear them every day and wear them out. These were something that he wore seasonally and were much beloved. And I think I'm going to love them too. I've got some Pisca range laces on them, which go great. And finally, I am considering whether I should take the next step and have these completely rebuilt by Beatos. We'll see. That would be an expensive option, but I think it would warrant the quality of the uppers and the just incredible patina. And they would come out absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really interested in your comments and suggestions. Please let me know if you think that these should go to Betos for the next step, and what the build should be. I was thinking of maybe a leather outsole with a mini lug half sole and a rubber cat's paw type heel, or whether I should go an all rubber mini lug, or if I should do something else, maybe a V bar. I don't know. Please give me your advice and thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.